Hello, how are you doing? So in the last video, you learned about functions, and in this video, you're going to learn more about functions. Okay. So in JavaScript, functions behave in a bit different way than other programming languages. For example, you saw the usual function we created earlier, but we need to understand about these arguments that we pass to functions. Okay. So let me create a quick function here. Function, let's call it say hi. Normally we would supply some arguments, right? For example, but let's call the function first. Say hi, and let me wrap inside the alert, and let me pass my name. Okay, so I invoke this function inside alert. Okay, and I have the function here, function say hi, and then I can give it an argument of name and then return name. So this works. Yeah, I get to see my name. What if I don't supply any arguments here? Do you think it will work? Yes, it does. And that's the difference to JavaScript functions than other programming languages. Okay. So arguments are not necessary and can be any data type as well. It doesn't really matter. It's just the kind of a reference. Okay. So they can be any data type or even none. Like in this case, I don't have any arguments, right? So does this work? Maybe, maybe not. Let's see. No, it doesn't work. But there is a way. Even without giving an argument, there is a way. Before I show you that, I want to quickly go through this second line. Array-like object represents arguments internally. So every time a function is created in JavaScript, this array-like object is also created internally. Okay, so it always expects to get some arguments. An array can be empty or it can have multiple values, so empty array is not an error or anything, so that's perfectly valid. So whenever function is created internally, array like object is created. So even if you don't pass anything, the array is always there. Okay, so you can access each arguments using the bracket notation. So if you're not 100% confident about the arrays, I will have arrays covered in future lessons, so go ahead and check that out. Otherwise, it's just you can stay with me. Okay, so how do we access? Because I don't have any arguments passed down here. Arguments name I have passed down, but I didn't name the argument. So what I can do is, like I told you, we get this arguments object, arguments. So for example, let's say the first argument, because internally it is an array. So let's get the first one in the array. So whatever is there. Refresh, as you can see, it's right. See that? So that's how we can access the arguments object, okay, which is created internally by JavaScript. So for example, I can supply many arguments. Ryan, these functions are great. Let's supply one more argument, right? Argument 1. So I'm sure you know that it doesn't begin with counting, doesn't begin with 1 2 3, but just like humans in computer, counting begins from 0. Okay, so the first one will always be 0, not 1. Arguments 2. And as you can see, right, yeah, we saw in the last one, return plus. Okay, Ryan, JS functions are great, right? Of course, we need to format it. We can have space, but let's not worry about that. But it is always recommended to have the name the arguments, because it makes code more readable, and when you come back later on, you understand what's going on. Otherwise, it can be really confusing. Okay, so name anything, just placeholder. So it's always like I accessed by the arguments, but I named it differently. Does that matter? No, it doesn't. It still works the same. So these are a sort of what do you call it? Convenience, not a necessity. Okay, but it's always a good practice. Obviously, you can access each arguments using the bracket notation, which we did here. determine number of arguments using the array length. So you can even determine how many arguments are passed here. So let's actually create another function. So shopping, okay, function shopping, and then let's say if arguments dot length is, let's say, greater than or equals to 2. If you bought 2 or more items, then let's run some code, but in this case we just need to alert you are granted, let's say, 20% discount. Else, if, let's say, if arguments length, let me just copy that. If arguments length is let's say smaller than or equal to 1, so if you bought only one item or less, then what I want to do is alert you are not getting any discount. Okay, so alert, now I'm calling the function and I pass the arguments. Okay, so let's say customer bought milk and let's say bread. Alert SHOPP. Refresh. You are granted 20% discount. Great. Undefined. Okay. Now, if I bought only one, let's see what happens. First, you are not getting any discount. Okay. So that's how it works. The arguments object, you understand that you can use the length property, right? So I could even use the item 1, item 2, named arguments. That's perfectly fine. Refresh, you're not getting any discount. Okay, now I have only one argument, but I supply 2 arguments and still it doesn't throw any error, as you can see. By the way, if you're wondering why we're getting this undefined after the alert, I think that's because I wrapped it in alert unnecessarily because we are already outputting alert. So I think it would fix this. Let's give it a try. It says, and then no problem. Okay, so this is it, and I'll see you in the very next video. Thank you. By the way, if you're wondering why we're getting this undefined after the alert, I think that's because I wrapped it in alert unnecessarily, because we are already outputting alert. So I think it would fix this. Let's give it a try. It says, and then no problem. Okay, so this is it, and I'll see you in the very next video. Thank you.